Chapter 3. But the goldfish was real, and when her parents returned from the fields for dinner, they were not happy to learn that Minli had spent her money on it. "How could you spend your money on that?" Ma said, slapping the rice bowls on the table. "On something so useless. And we will have to feed it. There is barely enough rice for us as it is." "I will share my rice with it," Minli said quickly. "The goldfish man said it will bring fortune to our house." "Fortune?" Ma said. "You spent half the money in our house." "Now, wife," Ba said, sitting quietly, "it was Minli's money. It was hers to do with as she wished. Money must be used sometime. What use is money in a bowl?" "It is more useful than a goldfish in a bowl," her mother said shortly. "Who knows?" Ba said. "Maybe it will bring fortune to our house." "Another impossible dream," Ma said, looking at the plain rice in her bowl with bitterness. "It will take more than a goldfish to bring fortune to our house." "Like what?" Minli asked. "What do we need to bring fortune here?" "Ah," Ba said, "that is the question you will have to ask the old man of the moon." "The old man of the moon again," Minli said, and she looked at her father. "Ba, you said you would tell me the old man of the moon story today." "More stories," Ma said, and her chopsticks struck the inside of her empty rice bowl resentfully. "Haven't we had enough of those?" "Now, wife," Ba said again, "stories cost us nothing." "And gain us nothing as well," Ma said. There was a stony silence as Ba looked sadly into his rice bowl. Minli tugged at his sleeve. "Please, Ba," she said. Ma shook her head and sighed, but said nothing, so Ba began. The story of the old man of the moon. Once there was a magistrate who was quite powerful and proud. He was so proud that he demanded constant respect from his people. Whenever he made a trip out of the city, no matter what time of day or night, people were to leave their homes, get on their knees, and make deep bows as he passed, or else face the brutal punishment of his soldiers. The magistrate was fierce in his anger as well as his pride. It is said he even expected the monkeys to come down from the trees to bow to him. The magistrate was harsh with his subordinates, ruthless to his enemies, and pitiless to his people. All feared his wrath, and when he roared his orders, the people trembled. Behind his back they called him Magistrate Tiger. Magistrate Tiger's most coveted wish was to be of royal blood. His every decision was crafted for that purpose. Every manipulation was part of a strategy to achieve acceptance into the imperial family. As soon as his son was born, he began to make trips and inquiries to gain influence in hopes that he could marry his son to a member of the imperial family. One night, as the magistrate traveled through the mountains, again on a trip to gain favor for his son's future marriage, he saw an old man sitting alone in the moonlight. The old man ignored the passing horses and carriages, the silk brocade and the government seal, and simply continued reading a large book in his lap, placidly fingering a bag of red strings beside him. The old man's indifference infuriated Magistrate Tiger, and he ordered the carriage to stop. However, even the halting noises did not make the old man look up. Finally, Magistrate Tiger exited his carriage and went to the old man, who was still engrossed in his book. "Do you not bow to your magistrate?" he roared. The old man continued to read. "What are you reading that's so important?" the magistrate demanded, and looked at the pages of the book. It was full of scribbles and scrawls that were not of any language the magistrate knew of. "Why, it's just nonsense written there." "Nonsense," the old man said, finally looking up. "You fool, this is the Book of Fortune. It holds all the knowledge of the world, the past, present, and future." The magistrate looked again at the marks on the page. "I cannot read it," he said. "Of course not," the man said, "but I, the old man of the moon, guardian of the Book of Fortune, can read it, and with it I can answer any question in the world." "You can answer any question in the world?" the magistrate scoffed. "Very well. Who will my son marry when he is of age?" The old man of the moon flipped the pages of the book. He said to himself. "Yes, here it is. Your son's future wife is now the 2-year-old daughter of a grocer in the next village." "The daughter of a grocer?" the magistrate spat. "Yes," the old man of the moon continued. "Right now she's wrapped in a blue blanket embroidered with white rabbits, sitting on the lap of her blind grandmother in front of her house." "No," the magistrate said. "I won't allow it." "It's true," the old man said. "They are destined to be husband and wife. I myself tied the red cord that binds them." "What red cord?" the magistrate tiger demanded. Do you know nothing? I tie together everyone who meets with these red threads, the old man sighed, holding up his bag full of red string. When you were born, I tied your ankle to your wife's ankle with a red thread, and as you both grew older, the line became shorter until you eventually met. All the people you've met in your life have been brought to you by the red cords I tied. I must have forgotten to tie the end of one of the lines, which is why you are meeting me now. I won't do that again. I don't believe you, the magistrate said. Believe or don't believe, the old man said, standing up and putting the big book on his back. We have reached the end of our thread, and I will now leave. The magistrate stared in dumbfounded silence as the old man of the moon walked away up the mountain. Crazy old man, the magistrate said finally. What a waste of my time. The magistrate returned to his carriage and continued on, but as they drove through the next village, he saw an old blind woman holding a baby girl in front of a house. The girl was wrapped in a blue blanket embroidered with white rabbits, just as the old man of the moon had said. Magistrate Tiger burned with anger. I will not let my son marry a grocer's daughter, he vowed. So after he arrived at his guest house, the magistrate secretly ordered one of his servants to return to the grocer's home and stab the girl with a knife. That will take care of her, he thought to himself. Many years later, Magistrate Tiger had his dream fulfilled. He was finally able to obtain a match for his son with one of the emperor's many granddaughters, and his son would inherit the rule of a remote city. On the wedding day, Magistrate Tiger bragged to his son about how he had arranged the marriage and outwitted the old man of the moon. The son, who was not like his father, said nothing, but after the wedding ceremony sent a trusted servant to find the grocer's family to make amends. In the meantime, he became acquainted with his bride and was happy to find that both were pleased with each other. He found his new wife beautiful, the only oddity about her being that she always wore a delicate flower on her forehead. Dear wife, he said, why do you always wear that flower? Even to sleep, you never remove it. It is to hide my scar, she said, touching her forehead in embarrassment. When I was a child no older than 2, a strange man stabbed me with a knife. I survived, but I still have this scar. And at that moment, the trusted servant came in rushing. Master, he said, I made the inquiries you asked for. In a flood many years ago, the grocer's family perished, except for his daughter. The king of the city, the emperor's 9th son, then adopted the daughter and raised her as his own. And that daughter is your wife. So the old man of the moon was right, Minli said. Of course he was, Ba replied. The old man of the moon knows everything and can answer any question you ask. I should ask him to bring fortune to our house, Minli said. He would know. I'll ask him. Where do I find him? They say he lives on top of Never-Ending Mountain, Ba said, but no one I have ever spoke to knows where that is. Maybe we can find out, Minli said. Oh, Minli, Ma said impatiently, bringing fortune to our house? Making Fruitless Mountain bloom? You're always wishing to do impossible things. Stop believing stories and stop wasting your time. Stories are not a waste of time, Ba said. Stories, Ma said, slapping her hand against the table, making the water in the fishbowl sway as she stood up and left the table, are that what wasted money on this goldfish. Minli stared down at her rice bowl. The few white grains left sat like precious pearls at the bottom of her bowl. Ba patted her arm. Eat all your rice, daughter, he said, and with his shaking hands he scooped the last of his own rice to feed the fish.